My name is Sophia. When I was only 13, I lost both my parents in an accident. From that day on, my life was never the same. You are watching Karma's Call. Before we begin, write in the comments which country you are watching from, and what time it is right now. And yes, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. My relatives did take me in, but never as a daughter. In their eyes, I was nothing more than a burden. They would say, "Sophia, you must do all the housework. Education? That's not for you. Why does a girl even need to study so much?" At night, when everyone else slept peacefully, I cried quietly into my pillow, whispering to myself, "Am I truly a burden? Do I really have no worth?" But deep inside, a silent fire was burning. I knew, one day, I would prove my worth. And on that day, those who rejected me would finally understand the true meaning of karma. Days passed, and years slipped away. Every single day was another test for me. Before the sun even rose, I swept the floors, washed the dishes, cooked the meals. And instead of going to school, I had to prepare my relatives' children for their classes. They left, with books in their hands. I stayed behind, drowning in housework. Sometimes, I would peek out of the window, watching children laugh and play as they walked to school with books. And my heart would ache. If only I could study too. But giving up was not in my blood. At night, when everyone slept soundly, I secretly pulled out old newspapers, torn notebooks, and a broken pencil. Under the faint glow of the moonlight, I taught myself how to read and write. If there was something I didn't understand, I would quietly look into the children's schoolbooks the next day. Slowly, I realized I didn't want to be left behind. I wanted to prove myself. And that silent fire gave me a reason to live. Because deep down inside, I knew one day, this hard work would become my revenge. One day, my life suddenly took a new turn. An old teacher from the neighborhood, Mrs. Thompson, had often seen me watching from the window. I would gaze at the children walking to school, and there was always a strange light in my eyes. One evening, she walked up to me and asked, "Sophia, you want to study, don't you?" I froze. What if my relatives found out? They would scold me, maybe even worse. But Mrs. Thompson gently placed an old bag in my trembling hands. Inside were a few books, their pages yellowed, their edges torn. But for me, they were more precious than gold. She smiled and said, "Child, books are never an enemy. If someone tries to stop you, remember, you're on the right path." That night, I held real books for the very first time. The scent of the paper, the ink-stained lines. It felt as if my soul had been reborn. I pressed the pages against my chest and swore, no matter what happens, I will never give up again. After receiving those books, my nights were transformed. Studying quietly in the dark became my greatest joy. But happiness cannot stay hidden for long. One night, as I was lost in my books, the door slammed open. My aunt stood there, her eyes burning with fury. "Sophia," she shouted. "What is all this? Who gave you these books? Are you secretly studying?" I trembled with fear. The books slipped from my hands and fell to the floor. She picked them up and threw them down violently. Pages tore apart, some even caught the flame of the candle and burned. "Remember this, you are not a daughter of this house, just a servant. You have no right to dream." Her words pierced through my heart like arrows. That night, I watched as my most precious treasures turned to ashes. But within that very ash, another fire was born. From then on, this was not just a fight for education. This was a fight for my identity. After that night, my heart felt completely shattered. But Mrs. Thompson found me. She wiped my tears and whispered, "Sophia, books can burn, but no one can ever extinguish the fire of knowledge." Her words gave me strength. I made a decision. If my relatives tried to block my path, I would carve a new one myself. I began taking small jobs. Washing dishes for neighbors, ironing clothes, sometimes telling bedtime stories to children. Every coin, every penny, I hid in an old tin box. Slowly, it began to fill with my hard-earned savings. Weeks later, with my tiny hands, I bought new books. They weren't grand, but to me, they were my greatest victory. With every page I turned, I reminded myself. They can block my way, but they can never stop my determination. And honestly, in that moment, for the very first time, I felt strong. Slowly, my hard work began to bear fruit. Studying secretly at night, and working during the day. This became my daily life. Sometimes, Mrs. Thompson would ask me small questions. And when I answered correctly, pride would shine in her eyes. "Sophia," she said, "your mind is sharp. If you ever get a real chance, you will go very far." Her words gave me wings. But still, I had to remain hidden from the world. If my relatives found out, they would take everything away. Then one day, an announcement shook the neighborhood. There would be a study competition. And the winner would receive a scholarship. Mrs. Thompson secretly enrolled my name in it. When she told me, my heart started to race. This could be the chance that changed my life. But to seize it, I would have to step into the light. And show the world my true dreams. That night, I looked up at the sky and whispered, "God, just once, stand by me." Finally, the day arrived. From morning itself, my heart was pounding. My hands trembled, and one thought haunted me. What if I fail? What if my relatives find out? Mrs. Thompson held my hand and said, "Sophia, winning or losing comes later. Today, you just need to prove yourself." The competition hall was filled with children. They wore new clothes, held shiny pens, and carried confidence. And I sat quietly in my old dress, wearing worn-out slippers. But when the questions began, something inside me awakened. Every answer flashed in my mind like lightning. People began staring at me. Who is this girl, answering so quickly? The final round was the toughest. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and spoke my answer. For a moment, the hall fell silent. And then, thunderous applause erupted. My name was declared the winner. Tears rolled down my cheeks. This wasn't just a victory. It was the first recognition of my life. When I returned home with the trophy and scholarship certificate, there was pride on my face. But the moment I opened the door, my relatives stood waiting. Their eyes burned with both anger and shock. "What is this, Sophia?" my uncle roared. "Who gave you permission to enter this competition? You've brought shame upon us." I trembled. But this time, there was more courage than fear in my heart. I whispered firmly, "This is my victory. And I will not hide it from anyone." My words fueled their fury. They tried to snatch the certificate from my hands. But I clutched it tightly. "No matter how much you try to stop me, I will not step back anymore." Their hatred grew darker. They even threatened to throw me out of the house. But that night, as I sat in my tiny room, the wind blowing through the broken window seemed to whisper, "Sophia, you are no longer alone. You have your hard work, your victory." And I swore, no matter how many storms come my way, I will fight for my dreams. After receiving the scholarship, a brand new chapter of my life began. For the very first time, I could attend a real school. That moment felt nothing less than a dream. On the first day, as I wore the school uniform, tears welled up in my eyes. Maybe it was ordinary for others. But for me, it was a crown of victory. Crossing the school gate, my heart pounded. In class, children laughed and chatted among themselves, while I quietly sat at the back bench. At first, some children mocked me. "Who is she? Look at those old shoes. Her hands look like she washes dishes." Their words stung like arrows, but deep inside I whispered, "Yes, I've washed dishes and scrubbed clothes. But now, I will polish my dreams too." Slowly, my hard work silenced them all. Every test, every assignment, I scored the highest. Teachers looked at me with pride and said, "Sophia, you make us proud." My relatives still watched me with hatred. But within the school walls, I began to find a new sense of belonging. And I knew this was only the beginning. During my school days, even though I always topped the class, deep inside, loneliness still lingered. Other children formed groups, laughed, played, while I usually buried myself in books. One day, during lunch break, I was sitting alone. A girl walked up to me. Her name was Emma. She smiled and said, "Why do you always sit alone? Come with me." At first, I hesitated. But there was such honesty in her smile that I couldn't refuse. Slowly, Emma became my very first true friend. She never mocked me. Instead, she admired my hard work. When other kids teased me, calling me poor, Emma stood up for me and said, "You only see her clothes. I see her courage." Her words brought tears to my eyes. For the first time, someone saw me not as an orphan, but as a human being. Walking beside Emma, my confidence grew stronger. I realized the path of dreams is never easy. But with a true friend, it feels a little less hard. Time passed, and the most important exam of my life was approaching. It wasn't just the school's final exam. It was the test of my entire struggle. Emma stood by me every step of the way. We studied late into the nights, solving questions, teaching each other. But there was one problem. My relatives never allowed me to study long. Sometimes they switched off the light, sometimes they snatched my books. Many nights, I studied in the dim glow of a candle. One night, my uncle shouted in anger, "What will studying get you? Learn to work, that's all you're worth." His words burned inside me like fire. That very moment, I decided. This exam was not just about education. It was about my freedom. On the day of the exam, my heart raced wildly. The questions were tough, but I poured my soul into every page. Emma squeezed my hand and said, "Don't be afraid, Sophia. The effort you've put in will not go to waste." And truly, when the results came, I had topped the entire school. That moment, the whole world seemed to pause. It wasn't just my victory. It was the answer to all the doubts and insults I had carried for years. When the results were announced and my name stood at the very top of the entire school, my joy knew no bounds. Teachers hugged me, children clapped for me, and Emma's eyes sparkled with tears of happiness. But the biggest moment came when my relatives heard the news. At first, they couldn't believe it. Then, anger and jealousy spread across their faces. My aunt hissed, "This is all because of Mrs. Thompson and that girl Emma. Otherwise, this orphan could never have come this far." Her words dripped with poison. But this time, I didn't stay silent. I looked straight into her eyes and said, "Yes, they supported me. Because you never treated me like family. But remember, I don't need anyone's permission anymore." They had no reply. Only silence remained, while my strong voice echoed through the room. Slowly, even the people in the neighborhood began to see me differently. Those who once called me a poor orphan now proudly introduced me as the school topper. And in that moment, I realized the true taste of dreams coming true can only be earned through hard work and courage. My hard work and victory didn't end there. Because of my top result, I received a prestigious college scholarship. That scholarship became the headline of every newspaper in the city. Reporters started interviewing me. People wanted to know my story. Everyone was shocked. The girl once called a helpless orphan had now become the city's biggest inspiration. In Emma's and Mrs. Thompson's eyes, I saw pride shining brighter than ever. Emma hugged me and whispered, "Sophia, this is just the beginning. Your true destination is still ahead." But on the other side, my relatives were burning with jealousy and shame. The very people who once tried to humiliate me were now proudly telling the neighborhood, "Sophia is our relative, she's like our daughter too." Their fake smiles couldn't hide the truth from me. But inside, I thought, the time has come for true revenge. Not through harsh words, but through my success. That night, as I gazed at the stars, I made a promise to myself. From now on, my life will move by my choices. And the pain they once gave me will now stare back at them through my achievements. The news of my scholarship spread like wildfire across the city. People started recognizing me, my picture appeared in newspapers. Wherever I went, people said, "Sophia, you've made history." But then, fate took a sharp turn. The very relatives who never accepted me were now in deep trouble. Their business had collapsed. Creditors stood outside their house, shouting for their money. Sleepless nights haunted them. Fear and desperation were written across their faces. And then one day, they came to my door. My aunt, the same woman who once called me a burden, now stood before me with tears in her eyes. Her voice trembled as she said, "Sophia, dear, we made many mistakes. But now, only you can save us. Please, we need your help." For a moment, my heart shook. I remembered the nights I had gone to bed hungry. The insults, the loneliness, the countless tears I had shed. Then I took a deep breath and said, "Help. Now you realize you need me." When I was wandering with nowhere to go, you slammed the door in my face. And today, I am your last hope. The room fell silent. Their eyes were filled with fear and shame. And my voice echoed like that of a victor. I looked at my relatives. Their eyes showed fear, shame, and helplessness. These were the same people who had never accepted me, who mocked my innocence, who left me hungry and broken. And today, they stood before me with folded hands. A faint smile appeared on my lips. I said, "I will help you, but on one condition." Hope flickered in their eyes. They asked nervously, "What condition?" I took a deep breath and said, "First, you must admit in front of the family and community that you wronged me. And second, you must promise that you will never again belittle an innocent child because of their status, their struggles, or because they are an orphan." Their faces fell. My words struck them like a whip of truth. At last, with trembling voices and tears, they admitted their mistakes in front of everyone. It was not just an apology, it was the death of their arrogance. I did help them, but not by handing over money. Instead, I guided them to rebuild through hard work, so they could learn that stealing someone's dignity never leads to real success. As they left my home that day, a deep peace settled in my heart. My revenge was not loud. It was silent and powerful, achieved through my success and my conditions. That night, looking into the mirror, I whispered, "Sophia, you are no longer just the orphan girl. You are a story of triumph. And this is the true justice of karma." Friends, this was the story of Sophia. A journey from an orphan girl to a symbol of triumph. It proves that no matter how tough life gets, if you walk on the path of truth and hard work, karma will always stand by your side. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and share it. Comment below and tell us which country and what time you are watching this video. And yes, make sure to subscribe to the channel, because we bring you more stories like this every day. See you in the next story. And remember, karma's justice never fails.